Hey, hi, howdy, hello. I hope you're all doing good and stuff. Today's been hard. That's all I really want to say about that. And so we're going to do some Ouija board skin W's, wins and goes, and like basically all things spooky kind of stuff. Um, yeah, I can't handle stress right now. Gabby is faking yet another pregnancy. Lori is being Lori and lying about everything. And that's about it. And I know if I listen to Gabby right now and hear her faking yet another pregnancy, I am going to lose my shit. And possibly my channel, because I'm going to go the fuck off. So it's best we do paranormal. Yeah.
Fucked around. I found out, you know? So, yeah, we don't play with Mama, but we love her to death. She's my best friend. Aside from her. Okay, when I was about 10 years old, I was at a sleepover with one of my friends. We're gonna call her Ruby, okay? And during this sleepover, it was me, her, and then 5 other girls, and we stayed in the RV that was behind her house. And her parents, of course, stayed in the house. We were having a blast, okay? We were eating pizza, we were playing games, we were laughing, living our best 10-year-old life, okay? We're having a great time, and then pause. One of the other girls pulls a Ouija board out of her bag. When she pulled out the Ouija board, everybody else was hype as fuck. Not me. No, ma'am. My gut was already screaming, don't do it. This is a bad idea. Bad idea. Bad idea. I held true and made my mama proud, okay? I was like, I'm not touching that. And of course, I got called a chicken, like, you're such a chicken, like, you're so scared.
Yeah, I would be that chicken. Absolutely, but I'd be a chicken that didn't die. Hello, Epic Plays. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I would not do the Ouija board of doom. Like, show me one story where that ever ends well. One. Give me one story where it does not end horrifically bad. One story. I'm from my mama. And you know where she came from? Her mama. And do you know where she came from? You'll never guess it. Her mama. I know. Mystery solved.
First of all, bitch, I'm not the one who's got issues. Just kidding, I ain't gonna do. Of course, they start asking the board, like, is anyone there? Hello, are you here? Do you want to speak with us? Hello. For a few minutes, there was no answer. But suddenly, the planchette moves to yes. Me, my heart dropped. Okay? And all these girls are like, stop it, Ruby. Stop moving it. And Ruby's like, I'm not moving it. And all the girls are like, okay, someone.
No. And I don't know why you keep choosing those weird ass names. But no, every time I do, you fuckwits like messing with my fucking pictures. No, I'm not in the mood today. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you. I am not in the mood for your bullshit. I am doing diamond art. If you don't want to watch diamond art and listen to ghost stories, this is not the place for you. We are not here to look at my face. There are plenty of pictures of my face on my tab if you want to see them that badly.
Moving it, but everyone's like, I'm not moving it, I'm not moving it, I'm not moving it, I'm not moving it, and here I am. Ruby then asked, what is your name? And the silence was so loud. But then Ruby was feeling, this girl was feeling brave, okay? He starts taunting this spirit. Oh, are you scared? Just tell us your name, you coward. And that is where the darkness started, bitch. The air in the ARV got so thick. Then, okay, I got chills already. The planchette starts moving frantically, okay? And I'm talking like figure 8 frantically, literally figure 8ing, bitch. I mean like this, non-stop, okay?
Okay, I don't like your Valley Girl rendition of this story. Next.
Hey everyone, it's Dave here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more daily videos.
This story is a perfect example as to why you should beware of any children on Halloween night that have black eyes. If you've never heard of the black-eyed children, they are almost always described in the same way. They are between the ages of 6 and 16. Usually there's 2 of them. So they'll appear as siblings. They appear to be wearing outdated clothing. They're very cold. They won't look at you directly, immediately at least. They may show up after you've turned your light off, after you're done giving out candy. It's always said in every encounter, there is an overwhelming presence of fear and dread when they're at your door. They will always demand that you let them in. They typically will first ask to maybe use your phone, something to get you to let them in your house. And if you say no, because you're going to feel terrified already and not know why, they're going to start getting angry and they're going to start insisting. These encounters date back many, many years. I can do a video on the first encounter with black-eyed children if you'd like me to, but I'm going to get right into the story. This happened on Halloween night. Now, this person absolutely does not believe in any type of paranormal thing, at least not until this incident happened. So it's Halloween night. Their neighborhood is one of those neighborhoods where people come and drop their kids off from other neighborhoods to trick-or-treat there. But they said this night was actually kind of slow. There was only about 8 or 10 groups of kids, and about 9:30 they were pretty much done, and so they turned their light off and shut everything down and went to watch a ghost show. Now, she prefaces that, yes, she doesn't believe in any paranormal stuff, but she does enjoy watching ghost shows every now and again. There hasn't been any knocks at the door, no trick-or-treaters for a while now, and so they decided to let their dog out of the crate because typically if there's trick-or-treaters, the dog will freaking bark. So it's about 10 p.m. and her husband gets up to go upstairs, take a shower to go to bed. And so it's just her and the dog on the couch. So she's watching her ghost show with her dog, and then all of a sudden, there's 3 knocks at the door. And she's like, oh shit, it's been forever. Why are more kids knocking on our door? Our lights off. What the hell? And then they knock again. And she's like, well, I can't just ignore it because my front door has a glass panel and they can see that I'm in here, and now I just look like an asshole basically. She did say she was kind of freaked out because she's like, I don't know if it's kids, I don't know if it's some weirdos, it's Halloween night. And she looks for her dog, who's usually super guard dog, is cowered by the back door and won't come to her. So once again, there's 3 more knocks. Her husband is in the shower, she can hear the shower running, so she knows that he's not going to hear me if I call for him. And she then says a car comes up the street, so the light kind of illuminates a little bit on the porch, and she can see, oh, it's just little kids. So she felt a little better, and she's like, maybe it's just two of the neighbor kids. Maybe they just want to show me their costume. They're just coming back home trick or treating. So she goes to crack the door open just enough where her dog can't run out if she decided to, I don't know, get brave again. But the dog is terrified for some reason. And then all of a sudden, she says she starts to feel very uneasy. Even though it appears to be just two small children, she feels scared. There's not enough light coming from inside the house to illuminate and show too many features of the kids, but she can tell that they look very young. There's a little girl, she can tell she's blonde. She thinks,
Hey, April. They issued a continuance. Again, April. He fired yet another fucking attorney. Dragging this out even further. I'm not doing good today. I don't think there's anything anybody can do at this point. I'm just... Yep.
about 11 or 12, and then there's a little boy who looks to be about 8 or 9. She said they don't say trick or treat, and then all they say is, can we come in and use your phone to call our mom? And she was like, that's weird, because what kids don't have cell phones these days? She also mentioned that these kids did not have on costumes, so they're clearly not trick-or-treaters. And she said she had two competing feelings, being a mom and kids needing to get a hold of their mom, but then also this, like, pit in her stomach that it was like, something's not right. So she was like, why don't you give me your mom's number and I'll call your mom? So then little girl was like, oh, well, my brother needs to use the bathroom, so can he use the bathroom while you call our mom? And she said she also didn't realize that she had opened the door a little wider without even noticing it. The girl steps closer as if she's gonna just walk in the house on her. So because she had accidentally opened the door a little more, it let light from the house onto the little girl's face, and that's when she saw it. Jet black eyes, like complete voids. She said in that moment her motherly feeling went away, all the hair on her body stood up, and she pulled the door closed just enough to where she just could poke her face out. And then the little girl starts pleading, please ma'am, we're really...
Hey, take a seat. They issued another fucking continuance because of his bullshit. He fired another attorney, so they were forced to continue it and drag out our torment. Because apparently the perpetrator has rights, but the victims don't have any rights to peace or not being dragged back and forth to court. You know, we don't have the right for this to be over and for us to get closure, but he has the right to make an absolute mockery of the justice system. Well, at this point, it's obvious he's misusing the system. At this point, it's obvious he's playing games and manipulating the system. It's been a year, April. Enough. I guarantee you, he took what Ted Bundy did and is doing exactly what fucking Ted Bundy did. Thinking it's gonna work.
He's scared out here. We have to come inside. Please help us. And then she said on cue, they start whimpering. She closes the door and locks it. She tells them through the door, I will call your mom if you give me the number, but I am not letting you in my house. And they just stared at her through the glass door. Now, she wanted to run upstairs and get her husband, but she said, I was too nervous to take my eyes off of them because then if I don't know where they're at, that feels even worse to me. So after a few minutes of just this weird watching each other thing, she decides to go and call her neighbor and see if they'd come by there, or maybe just let the neighbor know, hey, there's some weird children with voids for eyes running around the neighborhood trying to get in the house. She goes to get her phone and she comes back and she looks back out the door and the kids have stepped out into the street, well, to the sidewalk under the street lamp, just staring at her. As soon as she picks up her phone to start calling her neighbor, the kids start walking away. So she meets her neighbor under a street lamp outside and the kids are completely gone. Like, nowhere to be seen, as if they were never there. They were just there a minute or two ago. Also, she found the dog hiding under their guest bed later that night. So, yeah. Be careful when you turn your light off after all your trick-or-treaters are gone. If you get a knock at the door, don't answer it. And definitely don't let any weird children in your home.
Whenever your mom tells you that she has a really bad feeling about a place that you're going or something that you're doing, you should listen, because I guarantee that 9 times out of 10, she's probably right. Moms just have...
If you're tuning in, sorry, Braden Gamer, but you look like a kid, and this is an 18 and older channel, and this is not a place for kids. We sometimes speak about triggering or traumatic content, and it's not appropriate for children.
That sixth sense where we know that our kids are in danger. Unfortunately, Anthony did not listen. So we're going to go ahead and share his story. And I promise you, you're going to want to stay till the end because it has a crazy twist. When Anthony was in college, he had a girlfriend that lived about 8 hours away. So every weekend or every Friday night, he would take the 8-hour trip to go spend the weekend with her and then drive back. He made this drive so often that he literally knew the route like the back of his head and would even stop at the same little restaurant at the midway point. So often that he got to know the people that lived there or that worked there. On a Friday, just like his usual Fridays, he was getting ready to leave when his mom came up to him and said, I really think you should stay home this weekend. I have a really bad feeling. Something's going to happen. You should just stay home. Anthony, of course, reassures her and tells her that he's going to be perfectly fine, that he has made this drive many, many times before and that it was no different. And then his mom tells him, well, there's also a storm coming, so I really, really think you should reconsider staying home. And Anthony tells her no, that he's fine, that he's driven in the rain before and it's not going to be any different. Against her wishes, he goes ahead, he gets in his car, and he leaves. Once he hits the midway point, he stops at that little restaurant that he would always stop at. Now, the waitress that worked there knew him by name because he stopped there so often, so she kind of came up to him and to take his order, but he noticed that she looked very...
April. Jinx. I don't know. I guess it depends. Tonight, it's about ghost stories, and I guess ghost stories are okay for kids, but I don't want kids occasionally coming in here and then one of them end up coming into my Lori Jones or more adult topic stream, so I don't even want to start that. no, Mr. Handsome, I don't want to get in bed with you. Thank you. No, thank you.
Like, so he asked her what was wrong, and she just told him that she just felt like there was something in the air that was off, like the energy was off, like she just felt like something really bad was gonna happen. And also, being that they were getting ready to get hit with a storm, like it really like unsettled her. Anthony kind of shrugged it off and like continued on. He ate his food and left. As he was walking out of the restaurant, he noticed that as soon as he walked out, the waitress went and locked the door. Like he was literally the last customer they were gonna take because they were all gonna go home. He decided to like kind of shrug it off, not let this really bother him. He got into his car and continued the rest of the way. He would typically listen to like podcasts on the way, so he just put on his podcast and started to drive. At this point, it started to calm down really hard, but he wasn't worried because again, he's driven in the rain and it wasn't a big deal. As he's driving on the road, he hits a spot where it's literally the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing in sight when he happens to see a woman on the side of the road. Now, mind you, it's raining. His visibility is very low. He can't really make out like her face or anything. He just knows like it's a woman by like the shape. He figures that maybe she got into a fight with whoever she was in her car with or her car with, and they just kicked her out of the car because there was no way that she could have just wandered over there on her own. Like it was far. So he just
I don't believe that. Firstly. Secondly, I said no. I don't know you, and I don't make a habit of just jumping in bed with random ass guys who ask me to jump in bed with them. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man. I am perfectly fine in my own bed. Good luck with that, though. Maybe you will find love on the YouTube streets. I'm rooting for you, man. Your one true love is out there, and they are definitely in a random chat on YouTube. Definitely where you're gonna find them. It just ain't me, though. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you I ain't the one. I am broken, and you don't want me, I promise. Um yeah. I'm also old, so you double don't want me. I'm old, and I'm ugly, and morbidly obese, and I look like Eddie Munster, and other stuff that's horrible. Yeah, you definitely don't want me.
decides to pull over on the side of the road, like kind of assessing her. He can see her like behind. He starts kind of like honking his horn. He tries to look out the window to like get her attention to be like, hey, like, do you need a ride? Like, are you okay? But she doesn't turn her face to like look at him. Then from his radio, mind you, he's listening to a podcast. He starts to hear the screams of a woman. He assumes that maybe because of this like visibility or like the rain, like the satellite's messing up. So maybe he's picking up like two different channels, and maybe in the other channel there's someone screaming. That's what he thinks. So he continues to like kind of wait there and try to like get this woman's attention. She's not listening. He kind of looks down to try to mess with his radio. When he looks back, like in his rear view mirror, he sees that the woman is now right behind. Her face is like right up to the window, and he has a clear look at her face, and her face looks deformed, like something is seriously wrong with her. Every alarm bell goes off, and he's like, there's absolutely no way that whatever that is human or alive. Like, I don't know what that is, but I want to get as far away from that thing as I possibly can. He hits the gas, and he just takes off.
I know what he saw, guys. Breaking news. There's been a live sighting of Lori Jones on the streets I mean, he said it looked deformed and like it wasn't human and like he wanted to get away from it. The only female he could possibly be describing is Lori Jones. Dude, speaking of that video, Nikki, I loved that video. As a matter of fact, I meant to tell you that earlier. Um, I turned that on when I got off of here last night and I went to sleep to it. That was a good video. It was a really, really good one. I had no idea that Fox Hollow Farm even, like, I think I'd covered it in passing, but not quite to the depth you did. And even I didn't know some of the things you brought up on that video. I was like, wow. I had no idea. That story is fucking insane. You know what I know, Nikki, and I swear to God, after all this is done, I'm gonna write a fucking book. I'm gonna write a fucking book. I don't know what the hell I would name it. Crazy shit. 101. I don't know, take a seat. You should ask my ex. He is an expert on going from completely normal acting to absolute fucking lunatic monster. Like, he can flip that switch in, like, a blink of an eye. Like, he can appear to be, like, an educated, clean-cut professor. And the next fucking second, he could be beating the ever-loving shit out of you. Or having a 9-hour standoff with police while shooting up your house. Or pulling a pew-pew on police. Or I could go on. The list is much longer. But no, people really can. And it's not just men. It's not just men that are bad. There are some women out there. Hello, peacock person, and no one. Have you... I don't know why this is. I don't know either, take a seat. But I don't know why, but it doesn't seem like women get as many documentaries as men do. But there are a shit ton of women Minecrafters out there. Like, you would not believe how many women serial Minecrafters there are. There are a lot of serial Minecrafter women. Eileen Warnos, she was oh my god, you want to talk about a monster? That woman is terrifying, or was terrifying. But there's not only that one, there's the one that Minecrafted her whole family, her kids. She literally Minecrafted both of her children for nothing. And it was because she wanted to be with someone else and her kids were in the way. Susan Smith, yeah. There are a lot. I mean, don't mistake me. No, there's not a just a men are bad. No, they're just horrible people. Yeah, Ed Gein's mother. What doesn't get talked about quite often is Ed Gein was the way Ed Gein was because of his mother. And I mean, abortion is bad, but it's not. I don't know why it's not viewed the same way when they're older and then they do it. It's equally terrible. Hey, Joey. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of documentaries on men serial Minecrafters, but I don't see a lot on women. I'm almost tempted to do a series on women serial Minecrafters. Like, you never hear about them, really. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen some women do some pretty violent shit. Eileen Wuornos, I would say, was pretty violent. And there was the girl who Minecrafted her family with a fucking axe. They typically use poison. No one. Poison is a woman's tool. Typically. Wow, did this get dark fast. But in any case, we're talking about ghosts.
Well, he can't see anything. Like, it's so dark. Like, it's raining. It's horrible. But again, he has taken this road so many times that he memorized it. So he's just kind of going based off like memory. But the whole time that he's driving, the static from the radio continues, and he keeps hearing the screams coming from the radio, and he's confused, and he's just once again thinking maybe some sort of like satellite issue. I don't know. He just keeps driving and driving and driving. He drives for about 30 minutes straight without stopping until he finally hits a gas station. He's still kind of shaken up. He gets to the gas station, puts gas in his car, then he pulls up to the front. He walks into the gas station. There's two men standing there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. No one. Ed Gein's mother was abusive, in my opinion. And in my opinion, verbal and mental abuse is no less bad than physical abuse. Bruises heal. I know this from experience. A bruise will heal faster than emotional bruising. Like, a bruise, that'll heal in a week or two. Like, emotional and mental damage can take a lifetime if you ever recover from it. Like, I can't stand it when somebody says, well, they didn't hit that person. Well, no, but they emotionally and mentally abused them, and that's not less bad just because they didn't hit them. Oh, would you like a trophy because you didn't resort to physical violence? You just broke them mentally. So I guess that's better. I don't know. Ask Ed Gein how that turned out. His mother was nuts. And I'm not even trying to be mean. Like, his mother should have been fucking taken away. Yeah, statistically, that's true, no one.
The register kind of talking to each other. He goes and grabs his snacks. He pays for his snacks. As he's walking away, getting ready to get back to his car, one of the men looked at him and said, "Hey, where are you going?" Anthony looks back at him and goes, like, I'm going to my car. And the guy goes, "What about your wife? Are you gonna leave without your wife?" Anthony's like, "What wife? I didn't drive here with anyone. I'm by myself." The man then tells him, "No, you're not. When you pulled up to get gas, we saw when a woman got out of your passenger seat, and she got out and she walked towards the back of the building. We thought she was going to the bathroom." So the whole time Anthony was driving in the car with the woman from the window. Anthony then tells him, "Absolutely not. I'm here by myself. You have to believe me. You can go check the bathroom. There's probably not going to be anyone there." The one man then tells him, "Well, you're very, very lucky because that road that you just took is known for a ton of car accidents. The fact that you're even standing here, even able to speak to us, like, is incredible because there's so many people that never make it." So what he encountered was definitely some sort of like demonic idol spirit thing that maybe makes people crash. It's a lot of times when there's a road that has had a lot of car accidents, it's usually tied to like the spiritual. There's always something there causing the accidents. Needless to say, once Anthony made it to his girlfriend's house, he pretty much told her that you need to move. Like, either I need to move or you need to move back. Like, I can't keep making this trip back and forth.
Hello, so in this series, this episode here is going to be another episode of the Can You Spot the Spirit series. But in this episode, there is a really cool...
Nikki, if you really want to do that, I have a friend who comes in here frequently named Classic. He's been to the H.H. Holmes place multiple times. Like, he's been there. He's investigated the H.H. Holmes place. So, I should connect you two if you would like to have him up on panel. Or we could all three do a panel on the place. Like, do a panel video. Because this guy is an avid investigator. And he's really good. I've investigated a lot of places myself. I just don't really video them a lot. Because at the time, most of my effort is focused on really scoping out what's there, and I can't stream while using my Spirit Talker app. I need to get a secondary phone or device to download that app on or record on. Hey, Harry. But that is a very interesting story. H.H. Holmes has fascinated me for years. I don't know that we will ever really get to the bottom of what happened there. Not really. I mean, we can go off of what information we have, but That place is insane.
Scary story attached to this one. So I hope you guys stick around. It's going to be a longer video,
Oh,
so I hope you guys are okay with
ow, my
that. But
toe.
how this works is basically I post a picture so that you can look at the picture and see if you can find the spirit hiding in the picture. And then after that, I'm going to post a picture of another picture of the same picture. But at this time around, I'll have markings and drawings of what I see in the picture, and see if you guys can see if you guys saw the same thing I see. I used to be a psychic medium. I don't communicate with them anymore, but I can still see them.
No, I haven't heard of him.
And so this is basically just an exercise for you guys to see if you guys can spot the spirit. But with this case, I actually was able to communicate with the spirit, so I guess my ability is not completely gone. So here we go. So what you want to do is you want to turn the brightness on.
No, I've never heard of them. What's it on? What app is it on? I need to watch that. I have an unhealthy fascination with serial Minecrafters. Oh, wow. Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. His daughter? What the what the actual hell? Hang on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Okay, I'm gonna blame. Before I go down this rabbit hole, I am blaming Short Bus for this rabbit hole. I was content listening to ghost stories, and Short Bus come up in here with a serial Minecrafter I didn't know. So, I mean, this one's Short Bus's fault. Me too. I tell you who fascinates me most, and it may surprise you. Charles Manson. That guy was, and he was incredibly smart, like in the worst kind of way. You're like, you're welcome.
Hello there, bitch. I'm going to tell you in detail why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you. You are obviously here against your will. You're going to be kept chained in a variety of different positions, usually with your legs or knees forced wide apart. You'll be raped thoroughly and repeatedly in every hole you've got. You're going to be drugged up real heavy with a combination of sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. You're not going to remember a thing about this little adventure or what has happened to you.
Hey, whoa. Was that him? What the fuck? Ugh. That sent chills down my spine. Like, ugh. Oh my god. Ugh.
Elephant Butte, New Mexico. A quiet retirement community 2 hours north of the Mexican border. Only about 700 households. Nothing ever happens here. You know
Oh,
your neighbor,
really?
and everyone else in town, and they know you. You get up, you go to work, you see the same people, see the same places day after day. It's the kind of town that's so small and quiet, it's not uncommon for people to leave their homes unlocked. With an average income of $30,000
I bet they don't
a year,
now.
it's not like you have anything worth stealing anyway. The idea of anything out of
I bet they don't leave them unlocked now. Oh my god, me too, April. Oh, nothing ever happened here except for this crazy guy who chained up women and, like, played tape recorders for them just to freaking torment them. Oh, nothing to see here, guys. Wait. Whoa. Wait. What? They never... How? But the tape recorder and the stuff and the tape recorder, though, is this kind of like an O.J. Simpson? If the glove don't like fit, you must acquit kind of bullshit? Oh my! This is what? What the actual hell? What the?
ordinary or newsworthy happening in this town is pretty much inconceivable. Other than a few troublesome kids now and then getting into mischief, nobody really ever has anything to worry about. March 12th, 1999. 22-year-old Cynthia Virgil Jaramillo is running for her life down a dirt road, covered in blood, wearing nothing except for a metal choker collar padlocked to her neck like an escaped alien. Running for her life, her attacker hot on her trail. She desperately tried to orientate herself, shaking off the numerous amounts of forced drugs in her system designed to make her delirious, forgetful, compliant. She had no idea where she was, what day it was, where she could go. Had it been a couple of days? A week? She could only guess how much time had passed since she was taken captive. With no idea where she was, she only knew that she had to get away, and the danger was closing in on her fast. Finally, a trailer. A sign of civilization. She had no idea if it was safe, only knowing that the alternative was far worse. She had to try. She barged into the trailer, the homeowner startled and shocked at the bloody, bruised, and panicked naked woman barging uninvited into their home. It was immediately apparent that she was in trouble. Cynthia begged and pleaded with them to keep her safe, crying and pleading in hysterics as she tried to explain what had just happened to her. She collapsed on the floor and fell unconscious. What had she been through? The homeowner called the police, who promptly came and rescued her and arrested the man by the...
Yeah, it's mostly the same weirdo. Creating alt accounts to be weird on. Oh, yeah, probably. Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know. I don't try to understand it. Not today.
name of David Parker Ray. A man they would soon learn would be the stuff of nightmares that even seasoned investigators would have a hard time coping with. David Parker Ray was a troubled man from the start.
Well, no
He was
shit.
raised by his grandparents after his violent, severely alcoholic, and abusive father Cecil left the family and moved to Albuquerque. His mother Nettie couldn't handle the stress of raising 10-year-old David and 8-year-old Peggy, so she dropped them off with their paternal grandparents.
Nikki and I have the same train of thought. You think? Did you hear about the Wolf Creek murderer? The guy who, like, would kidnap tourists and campers and shit and, like, cut them up and, like, torture them out in the desert, or the AKA walkabout. And when they finally caught him, there was, like, a bunch of fucking, vehicles and... That was insane. Yeah, in Australia.
And moved back in with her own family. The children rarely saw their own parents ever again, and neither their mother or father had any apparent bond with their children thereafter. David's grandfather raised them in an oppressively strict Christian fundamentalist environment. Misbehavior of any kind was met with violent beatings. A friend of David's would later describe his terror of his friend David's grandfather, saying, his grandfather was very, very strict. He came from the old school where you had to be tough to survive. If his grandfather wanted David to do something, he'd jump. Maybe in today's terms he was abusive, but we called it being strict. Everywhere David went, he was exposed to violence and bullying. His father tormented him and beat him. Both his parents disposed of him. His oppressive grandfather beat him often and expected him to meet standards that hardly anyone could ever meet. And he was bullied and beaten at school so mercilessly. He was a loner, shy and reserved, and hardly opened up to anyone.
Well, this guy, like, murdered a lot of people. This wasn't one or two. This was piles of driver's license and ID cards and body parts and vehicles dumped in a big ass quarry. He did it in the perfect place. Yeah, watch it. It's called Wolf Creek. That shit happened. Yeah, basically. Like, They found all this shit in an abandoned mine shaft. Well, I mean, Australia arguably probably doesn't have a whole lot of surveillance out in the Australian outback. You know? Hey, Shelley.
He spent most of his time alone on his grandfather's ranch. The results of endless torment and beatings from everyone in his life had a profound influence on him and his development into puberty. His sister described finding lewd and violent pornographic images hidden in his room when he was 13. His taste for violence and bondage was early and never left him. Not only did it never leave him, it grew. According to multiple sources who knew him best, he boasted to the few people close to him that his first murder was at a very young age, as a young teenager, where he abducted a woman at knife point, tied her to a tree, and tortured her to death. Years went by as he became more deeply involved with sadomasochism and violence. He got married twice and met his third wife at the age of 27, 18-year-old Glenda Burdine in 1966. They had a daughter named Glenda Jean Ray the following year, whose importance to this story cannot be overstated, and you'll hear more about her later. 3 years after the birth of their daughter, David grew bored and left his family to join the hippie revolution in 1969. By this time, David, at the age of 30, was hitchhiking across New Mexico with a pretty blonde girl named Sally. They shacked up with the owner of a truck stop and his girlfriend. David's now pregnant girlfriend, Sally, confided in the girlfriend of the truck stop owner that she had lost her virginity to David and that she was pregnant. Days later, Sally and all her possessions were gone. When they asked David where Sally was, he shrugged, saying that she was a free spirit and had decided to leave. As disturbed as they were about this behavior from Sally, which they considered to be out of character after having gotten to know her, they had no reason to disbelieve David, and Sally was soon forgotten. David shortly thereafter got bored of the hippie lifestyle as well, patched things up with his wife, and moved back in with his family. Although he pretended to be the consummate father figure, he was anything but, getting deeper and deeper into the underground bondage scene. The years continued onward, 2 more failed marriages, and David moved to the quiet community of Elephant Butte, New Mexico in the 80s, where he would take up residence at 513 Bass Road the remainder of his life. The quiet, sleepy town of Elephant Butte was the perfect place to hide a dark secret. A small retirement community of only about 700 homes, situated right on the shores of Elephant Butte Lake, an enormous reservoir of deep, opaque, algae-filled water. He spent most of the 80s getting deeper and deeper into the bondage community, becoming exposed to habits and deviancy and networked contacts that fueled his unbridled thirst for violence and torture. His behavior became well established, kidnapping women and young girls, torturing them for days to satisfy his deviant cravings, and then selling them into slavery in Mexico once he was done with them, conveniently only a 2-hour drive south from his new lair in Elephant Butte. It's worth noting that by 1984 he had begun boasting to his friends about his intimate knowledge about every square inch of Elephant Butte Lake, spending countless weekends there in his sailboat. He enjoyed water sports, boat parties, fishing. Though the lake had several species of fish, it was best known for the yellow and flathead catfish that prowl its depths, reaching up to 80 pounds. and known for being voracious omnivores, eating anything and everything it came in contact with, including the occasional meal of human.
Well, there you go, short boss. You had wondered what happened to the bodies. Where I come from, there was a lake much like this, and it was rumored to be a dumping spot in the catfish. They will eat human, especially as it breaks down and starts to fall apart. They are not discriminative eaters. They eat anything. You wondered what happened to the bodies. He dumped them in the lake with a catfish. And the catfish ate them. Guarantee it. 80-pound catfish? Yeah. Hang on. I'll rewind it.
By 1984, he had begun boasting to his friends about his intimate knowledge about every square inch of Elephant Gate Lake, spending countless weekends there in his sailboat. He enjoyed water sports, boat parties, fishing. Though the lake had several species of fish, it was best known for the yellow and flathead catfish that prowl its depths, reaching up to 80 pounds, and known for being voracious omnivores, eating anything and everything it came in contact with, including the occasional meal of human remains. David had a reputation of being a kind and gentle person. He was kind to animals and routinely found injured animals to nurse back to health, a stark contrast to the darkness he secretly hid all his life. Friends who assumed he was speaking darkly hypothetical recall him describing while on his boat the best places in the lake to hide a body. He described the need to cut them open to release outgassing, fill the cavity with stones, wrap them in chicken wire, and after dumping them in the lake, the catfish would take care of the rest. And the zero visibility and algae in the water meant that no one would ever find what the catfish didn't take care of themselves. David Ray's daughter, Glenda Jean Ray, who went by the nickname Jessie, was the spitting image of her father, who she adored. She rarely saw her father, who was constantly traveling, working odd mechanical jobs. Growing up, she was exposed at a very young age to her father's masochistic lifestyle, who did little to hide his deviancy from her. She grew up with not only a tolerance for it, but developed similar cravings and deviancy that she saw in her father. She only recognized that there was a problem with her father at the age of 19, when she witnessed a bondage torture session with a prostitute that resulted in the woman screaming for her life, fleeing naked out of David Ray's home in terror, never to return. She filed a complaint with the FBI and gave a sworn complaint against her father. The astonished FBI agents listened as she told tale after tale of her deviant father kidnapping and torturing women and later transporting them to Mexico, selling them all into sexual slavery. After bringing then 46-year-old Ray in for questioning himself several times, not only did he not hide his behavior, he gleefully told them in graphic, enthusiastic detail about his deviant lifestyle, telling them that he had been interested in bondage since the age of 13 and had been extremely active in the bondage community since the age of 28, even telling the FBI agents that it was difficult for him to be satisfied until he thought of murder. As shocking and deviant as his behavior was, there was no specific crime that they could pinpoint, no victim that they could identify. Although they had a near confession from him, they were forced to close the report without further action, leading to another 13 years of kidnappings, torture, and murder. One of Jesse's best friends told reporters years later, "This is like the last time Jessie tried to break away, to say to her dad that she saw his behavior and said, 'No, this is wrong.' And she reported him, and what happens? They didn't do anything." It was indeed the first and only time that Jessie cooperated with law enforcement about her father. It's believed that after this experience with the FBI, Jessie began to fully embrace who her father was, and he kept no secrets from her. People who knew them best described their relationship as close, uncomfortably close. Jessie gave birth to a daughter herself a few years later in 1990, denying all the constant rumors that the biological father was David Ray, her own father.
Ew.
Emboldened by his brush with the FBI, who had failed to pin him down for his decades of crimes, David Ray decided to push his deviancy and thirst for violence into a realm unseen before. An unparalleled mechanic and craftsman, Ray married his skills and passion for violence, torture, and unbridled deviancy into what would be his magnum opus, a kind of laboratory where he could put his decades of experience into the art of pain into practice. He purchased a 22-foot-long cargo trailer, hung up a handmade sign right inside that read, "Satan's Dead," and he got to work. He installed an air conditioning unit to keep himself comfortable inside. The toy box, as he called it, would be a constant work in progress over the years. It's estimated that he personally invested over $100,000 into it. It was escape-proof, soundproof, with a reinforced frame and a deadbolt lock.
What the actual fuck? Oh, he got it air conditioned for his comfort, because comfort is important when you're Minecrafting people. I guess. I didn't know comfort was an issue with serial Minecrafting. My bad. You know? F the person you're, torturing. You've got to be comfortable, because how dare you be uncomfortable while torturing people? Do you see the irony there? He wants to be comfortable while torturing people. That is like peak level narcissism right there. Like, you do not get more narcissistic than that. I'm not sure he didn't eat them. And I don't mean in the pleasant nom kind of way either. I mean in the ouch ouch pain kind of way. They were not love nibbles, Hannibal Lecter. Although with the freaking voice clip he left, it's more like Hannibal Lecture than Hannibal Lecter, because he damn near gave a lecture with a fucking audio clip.
The ceilings and walls were adorned with unimaginable horrors. Elaborate systems of pulleys, gurneys, weights, pliers, clamps, whips, scalpels, chains, padlocks, drawings and figurines of women in various methods of torture. Medical cabinets filled with syringes and chemicals. There was a coffin lined with ventilation holes and various rings to restrain his victims as he sealed them shut inside. And most horrifying of all, an actual medical grade gynecological chair modified to restrain victims and position limbs as he saw fit, positioned in the center of the toy box like a throne of pain. Hooked up to the head and the midsection were electrodes that he attached to a generator used to electrocute various parts of their bodies. In a move of absolute evil arrogance, he set up video recording equipment to film his dark crimes, installing monitors positioned so that his victims would be forced to watch themselves as he inflicted unimaginable pain upon them. It's believed that he filmed every single session, selling the footage to his dark network of contacts in the underground bondage world, who had a high interest and were happy to pay top dollar for the most extreme footage and even snuff films that he shot. His captive victims would be kept for days, sometimes up to 3 months, in unimaginable conditions. Always careful to clean up and leave no trace of evidence, he made sure that none of his victims could be identified in the footage. He kept them until he was bored with them. No one ever saw the inside of the toy box unless you were a victim of it or a captor. It always began the same way, and he never deviated from his time-tested methods. His victim was abducted from the road, a bar, or by luring a prostitute into his shabby RV, violently beaten and shackled. He would take them back to 513 Bass Drive, keep them captive, chained to the bed, as he inflicted unimaginable amounts of pain, and then days later, they would be blindfolded and brought to the toy box. When the blindfold was removed, they found themselves strapped to the gynecological chair. Looking around, they would see the various tools of torture, syringes, other items that I'm too uncomfortable to hear myself say out loud. They would see David Ray hovering over them like a victorious predator. Then he would play the tape. His frequency of bringing new victims in led to him being tired of giving them the instructions himself. So he made a taped set of audio instructions, a kind of orientation to prepare his victims for the true nightmare to begin. I'm unwilling to read the words aloud.
Oh, how dare him be inconvenienced by having to repeat himself. No, we can't have that. How inconvenient it would be if he had to give the same spiel over and over. Like, he doesn't want to have to repeat himself, so he just tape recorded it out of laziness. And he can't be inconvenienced by getting too hot while torturing people either. He has to torture people in comfort, and he doesn't like repeating himself, so he tape recorded it so he didn't have to be inconvenienced by repeating himself. Yeah, no thank you, Harry. I'm good. No, I'm good. Hey, Joe. Long time no see. I've missed you. Look how much I've gotten done on this painting, though. Like, I've gotten a lot done. But, that irritates me a little bit. Because I'm just like, you're sitting here murdering people. But you don't want to be inconvenienced. Like, how narcissistic can one be? Like, how dare the victims make him repeat himself?
But you heard a part of the original audio of that tape at the beginning, and I'll leave a link to a Pastebin post with the full transcript of what each of his victims heard before this nightmare began. At the end of their captivity, they would be washed, thoroughly scraped of any DNA evidence, given the clothes that they had come in months before, after months of being naked, and given a cocktail of very powerful hallucinogenic drugs that made them forget the entire ordeal completely, unable to identify what had happened to them, or even explain to their loved ones why they hurt so badly all over, or where they had been for so long. It's impossible to know how many victims saw the horrors of the toy box, but years later, the FBI would find hundreds and hundreds of tapes and photographs of his victims and their time inside. None would be identifiable, except one. And it was all thanks to a blurry image of a tattoo. And this tattoo led them to one of the most important witnesses who helped convict David Ray. The tattoo was blurry and hard to make out, but after enhancing the video as best they could, they released an image of the tattoo. A woman named Kelly Van Cleve soon came forward recognizing her own tattoo. She had spent time in Elephant Butte and was missing 3 days of her life that she couldn't account for, followed by severe bouts of depression, anxiety, and nightmares. In the summer of 1996, Kelly Van Cleve was a regular patron at a bar called Raymond's Lounge in the nearby town of Truth or Consequences. A year earlier, a woman named Jill Troya disappeared and hadn't been seen since, after a bitter argument with Jessie Ray, David Ray's daughter. It's now assumed, but never proven, that Jessie was responsible for the disappearance. Kelly was having a rough time in a new marriage that she had rushed into, and had become good friends with Jessie Ray, David's daughter. One night, after a particularly nasty fight with her brand new husband, she stormed out and headed to Raymond's Lounge to drink and vent her frustrations. She talked to Jessie about her difficulties and had a single beer. Other patrons and friends of hers left, and it was only her and Jessie. Feeling uneasy and disoriented from the drugs that Jessie had slipped her secretly into her beer, she decided she needed to go home. But her ride had long since departed. Jessie offered her a place to stay at her father's home in Elephant Butte and drove her there, where she was held at knife point, bound, and introduced to the toy box by Jessie and her father. 3 days later, David Ray drove her home to the in-laws, telling them that he found her wandering the beach in a disoriented state. As he returned her, they were fuming, assuming she had gone off on some sort of drug binge. Her new husband annulled the marriage. He and his mother laid into her viciously, telling her how irresponsible she was for leaving for 3 days and not telling anyone. Confused, destitute, unable to account for the missing 3 days, the bleeding that she was experiencing, and the injuries that she couldn't explain. She took the few belongings she had left, and then she left Elephant Butte. 3 years later, she was living in Colorado and remarried, but still suffering from the ordeal, constant nightmares, depression, and an inability to be intimate with her new husband, or even allow him to see her uncovered. She was haunted by the nightmares of being tortured and suspended in midair. Through psychological counseling, she was able to piece together most of the ordeal that she suffered over the course of 3 days in David Parker Ray's toy box. She was hardly the first, and certainly not the last victim to experience the horrors that she could now clearly see on the footage the FBI showed her of her helpless, naked body being put through unthinkable trauma. The impressionable Roy Yancey was fresh out of the Navy in 1995. Clean-cut, proper, considered quite a charmer with the ladies, returned home to treat her consequences. A far cry from the young man who, in the mid-80s, ran with a group of friends who many in the town considered a satanic cult, made up of high school-aged renegades. They spent their time wreaking highly organized and unsettling havoc, sacrificing pets of neighbors, delivering messages with occultist satanic symbols just to people that they didn't like, and all sorts of mischief considered by police at the time to be criminal acts. Through police investigations, the best lead that the police got were continuous references to someone described as an older man named David, who recently had moved to Elephant Butte a few years prior, but they were never able to definitively confirm who this David was. Fresh out of the Navy with a new determination to walk the straight and narrow this time, he couldn't help but getting back into his old ways after becoming friends with Jesse Ray. The two were considered inseparable by people who knew them best. Although Roy was considered a decent person, he was highly impressionable, with a dark side that few saw. Jesse, who knew him best, nurtured this darkness over the course of their friendship. Jesse reintroduced him into the world of
Taking a
occult
drink
Satanism,
break,
which she
sorry.
had picked up from her father. It's unclear if Satanism was strongly held beliefs or just simply theatrics to complement the copious amounts of bondage and sadomasochism that she and her father practiced. The two became very close friends with a man named Kenneth Lee, a 43-year-old loner from Florida, a flamboyant gay man who was rumored to have a steady supply of drugs. Roy and Jesse visited him frequently. Neighbors described seeing Roy visit him especially often, leaving with a devious smile on his face. It's unclear what really happened, but when police were called to do a welfare check on Kenneth Lee on New Year's Day in 1996, after neighbors had complained of a foul smell coming from his apartment, they found his badly decomposed body in the front room. Splashes of blood were found all around, along with black candles and pentagrams drawn on the table. Amazingly, Kenneth's death was ruled as suicide by metallic poisoning when they found a doorknob lodged in his rectum and his stomach filled with screws and bolts. No.
That's not metallic poisoning. That's somebody shoving nuts and bolts and a doorknob up his ass. Like, that's not metal poisoning. That's sodomy with metal. And, so they thought he did that to himself. Are these police officers smoking crack? Asking for a friend. Were they, in fact, smoking of the crack? Because you'd have to be smoking crack to think that was self-inflicted. Do you think he swallowed nuts and bolts and shoved a doorknob up his ass? Yeah, totally likely story. That's totally what happened. Not suspicious at all. You've got a sadist on the loose who enjoys torturing people, and you think this guy just decided to shove a doorknob up his ass and swallow metal. So, yeah, this totally what happened. Right, Joe?
No charges have ever been filed. In July of 1997, the following year,
Why July? My birthday's in July, you bastard.
Been extremely close with Parker was in dire financial ruin. Homeless, she pitched a tent on the shores of Elephant Butte Lake and dropped her children off with a friend. Deciding to make a run to score some drugs, she agreed to meet with Jesse and Roy. She ended up at knife point in the back seat of David Parker Ray's truck, driven by Jesse, as Roy restrained his former lover in the back seat. According to Roy's confession, they drove to David Ray's home, and she was introduced to the toy box. He claims he never went inside, where Jessie and her father kept Marie for 3 days. During that time, police organized a massive search and rescue operation in an effort to find Marie. At the end of the 3 days, Jessie and her father told Roy that they were done with her, and that it was time for her to go. Then, they brought Roy inside the toy box. Roy claims that he walked inside to find his naked and helpless ex-girlfriend Marie strapped to the gynecological chair. Jesse handed him a rope and said, "You know what you have to do." With so much police scrutiny into Marie's disappearance, David and Jesse were going to take no chances with her being found after they got what they wanted from her. David started the video recorder, and Roy approached Marie with the rope. He claims that as Jesse pointed a gun at him, he strangled Marie to death with the rope. The videotape was never found, and it's been hypothesized that David sold the tape as a snuff film, like he had done many other times. In Roy's confession to police a few years later, he claims that he, Jesse, and David wrapped her body in a blanket, drove to Monticello Canyon near Truth or Consequences, and tossed her body into the ravine, descending down with shovels to bury it under loose dirt under cover of darkness. The following day, Roy and Jesse left town and went to stay with an acquaintance in Galveston, Texas. They stayed for an entire year, waiting for the disappearance of Marie Parker to blow over. Years later, Roy led police to the exact spot they buried her, but she was nowhere to be found. Roy speculated that David Ray must have returned later and removed the body, depositing it elsewhere.
Gandalf?
As if this strange cast of characters...
One in the chat, if you want Gandalf time. Yeah. Did you ever hear about the old lady that was a serial killer? She had kind of like a halfway house. She was like 80 years old. She had like this halfway house for like elderly and disabled or homeless people. And she'd take their checks. And then she would, like, they would come up missing. And she'd take on new... Yes, she was burying them in her yard. And under her house. And... yeah. That was a trip to watch. Okay. I'm getting the Gandalf. Oh! You baby. You baby. You baby. Oh, you baby. Oh, yeah. You baby. You baby. Gandalf. What do? Gandalf. Hey. Gandalf. What are you doing? Yeah, he's gonna do your sleepy baby. Yeah. Get your toe beach. Yeah, get your toe beach. You're so tired. Oh, so tired. Yeah. He's had an exhausting day of wazing about in the house. Yeah. Such a hard day him have. Yeah. Him have such a hard day. Let me cuddle him up a little. Yeah. Yeah, cuddle in your little blanket. Yeah. You talking me in right there. It's hard work being the baby. Yeah. Yeah. It's such hard work. He does. He does have a Halloween costume. I posted it. He's got a little pumpkin costume. And it's fucking adorable. He's not spoiled. He is not at all spoiled. Is not spoiled. Not even a little.
Needed any more to make this strange story any more complex. That's exactly what happened soon after Roy and Jesse returned to Truth or Consequences a year later. Returning to the local bar scene, they drank and partied hard, soon gaining the attention of a woman who had moved to town while they were away named Cindy Hendy. It was later discovered that Cindy was herself on the run from the law, moving down to Truth or Consequences to hide from the police in Washington state. With a rap sheet dating all the way back to 1979 with felonies such as larceny, forgery, and drugs, and fraud.
Oops.
She wasn't about to go back to prison after trying to sell cocaine to an undercover cop. In a strange three-way relationship dynamic, Cindy soon began dating both Jesse and Roy.
That's not weird at all.
Occasionally using David Parker Ray's trailer as a sort of love nest. Soon David became involved in the arrangement as well, throwing lewd free-for-all parties, with everyone sharing everyone. Cindy was especially interested in the bondage scene, and they enthusiastically introduced her to their own personal flavor of it. Except Cindy was not going to be a victim of it. As time went on, she and David became much closer, and the relationship between them became exclusive. Roy had since begun a relationship with a man named David Riviera, and Cindy did her best to become a dutiful housewife figure for David Ray, fixing him lavish meals, cleaning his house, and doing everything that she could to get his affection towards her, trying to fight off the competition of another woman fighting for David Ray's affection at the same time. On Halloween of 1998, David Ray threw a party in his trailer complete with alleged instances of black magic and witchcraft, performed by Cindy, who had been recently introduced to witchcraft by Roy Yancey. After a supposed black magic sacrifice to the devil, Cindy loudly announced her relationship with David Parker Ray to all the guests in attendance, which many found strange since she was openly also having a relationship with his daughter Jessie at the same time. Cindy and David became close very quickly. David found an equal in Cindy, or at least someone impressionable enough and wild enough to be molded into the kind of companion that he desired most. Slowly, he started letting her in closer and closer, revealing more about himself, testing the waters of what she was capable of handling. Finally, it was time to put her to the test. Cindy told David that she was going out of town for a wedding. Leaving him behind without someone to satisfy his deviant carnal desires was unacceptable to him. By this point, she was so far deep into the darkness he brought her into that the suggestion that he threw her didn't even faze her for a minute. They decided that it was time to kidnap a woman to keep as a sex slave for David while she was away. Bringing her into the toy box, he gave her the grand tour and demonstrated on dolls his scientific and methodical practiced art of inflicting pain. She eagerly absorbed every word, and he gave her an 18-point list that he had produced through the years of practice at his dark craft. It was a set of instructions for kidnapping and torture. The list is graphic, abhorrent, and I'm unwilling to read it in this video, but I'll leave a link to a Pastebin post with the list in the description if you really want to read it.
I don't.
Over the next 2 years or so, Cindy Hendy was no longer an innocent bystander, simply an enabler, or even an accessory. Cindy Hendy became an accomplice, just as deviant, just as cruel, and just as guilty as David Parker Ray himself for the kidnap, torture, and murder of untold women, just as eager to sadistically inflict pain and terror as her hopeful future husband. It was night when David Parker Ray and Cindy Hendy arrived in Albuquerque, seeking their next victim. After speaking with a local pimp and offering $30 for services, a 22-year-old Cynthia Virgil Jaramillo stepped into the rusty, beat-up RV. As she entered the back of the camper, Ray produced a badge telling her that they were law enforcement. She tried to make a break for it, back the way she came, but she was overpowered by the two of them, and a black leather mask slipped over her head, casting everything into blackness. Hours later, she found herself chained and bound, and as the mask was removed, she heard a voice coming from a nearby recording. Days later, after suffering unspeakable amounts of pain, terror, and abject humiliation at the hands of Ray and Hendy, Cynthia lay inside the house, chained to the bed. David was at work while Cindy was in the kitchen preparing sandwiches. Although she was still chained and locked firmly in place, the keys to her restraints were carelessly left just out of reach. With little time before Cindy would surely come back, she inched her way closer and closer to the keys. Fumbling and trying not to make any noise, she managed to unlock herself. Knowing there was precious little time, she reached for the phone, dialing 911. Before she could connect, Cindy burst into the room and they fought ferociously. Cynthia knowing full well that her life was at stake. They punched and kicked and clawed at one another. Cynthia reached out and grabbed a hold of a nearby ice pick and ferociously stabbed Cindy in the skull, leaving a giant gash.
Yes, I'm calling for a young lady that ran into the house because she's been raped. She's got a chain on her and everything. She told one right away. This lady is naked and everything else. She said they've been holding her for 3 days.
After the police rescued her, after she was hiding in the trailer that was previously mentioned, the officers received notice of a 911 hang-up call only blocks away. In a town this small, where nothing happens, there was no way that this was not connected. Rushing to 513 Bass Road, the officers banged on the door. Receiving no answer, they allowed themselves in with probable cause of trouble. Finding shattered glass, blood, and endless amounts of pulley systems and chains, they called for backup. They would need far more than backup. What they witnessed in the brief glance around David Parker Ray's home was far more than the tiny police department of Elephant Butte was equipped to handle. Nothing ever happens in Elephant Butte, a small town of 1,300 people, most of them over the age of 65. No one could have expected the absolute pandemonium, as more than 100 investigators from the New Mexico State Police and the FBI swarmed the town, and especially 513 Bass Road. Dozens of news stations from around the world, helicopters circling overhead all day. The quiet little town of Elephant Butte, where nothing ever happened, had just been put on the map and was now known throughout the world, but for all the wrong reasons. Investigators swarmed the small property, dividing it into 8 distinct search areas. They were having trouble getting a certain white cargo trailer open, and the keys were nowhere to be found. It took the locksmith only a few moments to get the deadbolt lock open. FBI Special Agent John Briscoe opened the small door into the cargo trailer and stepped inside. Holy shit. He saw the chair, the syringes, The whips, the chains, strange metallic bars, labeled ankle spreader and knee spreader, the satanic imagery adorning the shelves, and a video camera. Could there possibly...
Oh, how convenient. This motherfucker kinda pisses me off. Because he's like, I'm gonna label this for convenience. He's very anal, yet evil and lazy. I don't want to have to look for something or wonder what this is, so I'm gonna label it. Like, how anal retentive must you be to, like, label your Minecrafting equipment? I wonder if, like, he labeled the stuff he used to, like, actually Minecraft people. Oh, this is the strangling rope. This is the suspension rope. Like, I wonder if he had different ropes for different things. And different, like, blades for, like, I wonder if he was that OCD about it. Idiot. I'm gonna label all my torturing devices. They'll never figure out that these are torture devices. I'm just gonna label them as torture devices. Oh, it wasn't just tidy, Shelley. He had air conditioning. He had a tape recorder so he didn't have to repeat himself to his victims. You know, he couldn't be uncomfortably hot while torturing people. You know, how dare they think he should be uncomfortable while torturing people? Do you not get the irony in that statement? Like, no, bitch, if you're gonna torture me, I want you to be uncomfortable too. Bastard. Torturing is hard work. It's just meticulous and, like, tedious and obnoxious. You know what I'm tempted to do? Like, walk up in his lair and, like, disorganize his things and, like, relabel all his shit the wrong way. Like, label the spreader thing as a tarp and label his rope as fucking silly string and, like, mislabel everything and then, like, disorganize all his stuff. The worst. Like, you have one job. How could you be bad at that one job? Like, that's literally your life career and you're bad at it. That would be like me being bad at welding when welding is my profession. Like, I've spent my lifetime perfecting my skill at welding, and, like, if I wasn't good at what I've spent my life perfecting, then chances are I suck. Yeah, pour water in the air conditioner, yeah. Oh my god, that's terrible. Like, he should have been fired. I think I have seen a documentary on that person, though, now that I think about it. Wow, look at my cherry blossom now. Look how pretty. Look at my little cherry blossom. But yeah, I've had enough weird shit for the day. Yeah, I think so. So, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna take my go to sleep medicine and I'm gonna go to sleep. Right? But yeah, I'm tired. I've had a really rough day. And I don't feel like that begins to describe it. But yeah, I've had a rough day. I love you guys. Bye.